Hi guys, so today I'm down at Louth Volksworld to test drive the new Mark 8 Golf GTI and to see whether it's still an icon from the 70s. Now basically they've not really changed anything for the chassis and the engine, but what they have done is added some awesome body kit, so let's take you for a look around. So even though the engine stayed the same, they've taken the power and the upgrades from the performance pack on the Mark 7.5, giving them 242 brake horsepower from standard, making the 0 to 60 a nice and easy 6.3 seconds. So it's a 2-litre turbocharged engine, and to be honest, not much can go wrong on a Golf. So they've upgraded all the bodywork, and personally I think it looks fantastic. What they seem to do each time is upgrade it so the old Mark looks outdated. One definite improvement from the Mark 7.5 is the fact that the standard alloys are much nicer. The 7.5s were a little bit sort of lacking in that area unless you got the upgraded wheels, but these suit the car perfectly. Now it only comes in a 5-door, which for those of you that prefer the looks of 3-door is a little bit sad, but to be honest it still looks absolutely fantastic. They've made the back look really mean and sort of a lot harsher than what the 7.5 does. As all Golfs had, there is masses of room in the boot. I definitely think there's enough to fit a dead body in there almost. The inside looks really smart and clean. It's just sort of finished off nicely. I think they've made a nice upgrade from the Mark 7.5 into bringing that sort of fresh new screen in, new look steering wheel, and everything sort of bring together nicely while still keeping some of the aspects of the Golf that we all love, such as the GTI on the steering wheel and of course those tartan seats. So this Golf is keyless, so we don't need this, and the other thing is it is the 7-speed DSG automatic, which apparently I've heard really good things of. It's got the flappy pad as well as the options. So all to do now is to drive it. Let's go. I must admit I've not driven auto in about, oh god, a good few months. So that's my very first criticism, is the entertainment system is actually quite difficult to use. I think because they've changed it so much, it's so different to what people are used to, sort of having the, even down to sort of how you do the sound up and down with a little twisty button. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to, I think. But like you say, whenever you get a new car, you do get that. Oh, and it's got a heated steering wheel, so you know, winner chicken dinner. One problem we found with the Mark 7.5 Golf is that the traction control is very intrusive. So when you kind of trying to pull out of a junction a that bit quicker, it really locks in and cuts all the power to everything. So far, I've not seen an issue with this one. So hopefully that's an improvement they have made. I mean, I can't actually find the button to turn traction control off. That might be me being a little bit silly, but I'm trying to focus on not crashing someone else's car rather than trying to mess around with the traction control. There's the traction control issue. Yeah. So you might not actually be able to tell on camera, but it does kind of kick in, and like you say, it's taking that control away from the driver of the car. So I've already noticed the 7-speed DSG gearbox is so smooth. I mean, you don't actually feel it changing gear, which for an automatic is quite rare. I know a load of people do say, oh yeah, they're so smooth, but you can still feel it change gear. I think they're lying to you a little bit. But this, I'm very impressed. Let's give it a bit of grunt. I mean, that goes very quickly. It's so smooth. I'm quite overwhelmed actually to how quick it goes. I mean, I've driven this Mark 7.5 and I was very impressed with that. I thought it was very involving hot hatch, and obviously that was a manual compared to this being the auto, but this goes. I think it's a perfect combination of sporty and practical. And like I said, the GTI just seems to sit in its own sort of league, and the other cars doesn't necessarily have many competitors for that, because I think, again, that's where the Golf R comes in against the Honda Civic Type R, against the S3. The GTI kind of sits on its own, and I think that's what makes it quite special and why it's been so successful over the last 50 years, and why VW will keep remaking it and keep sort of upgrading it, because people want this sort of car. All I'm concerned is I feel like I'm sort of sat a bit weird. The steering wheel feels quite bulky and large and kind of at a weird angle. I think it's just a bit too big for the car, and it just needs a different steering wheel, I think. I really do like the previous generation steering wheel. It's a bit thinner, a bit more sporty, whereas this feels like it's more designed for comfort. Which, to be fair, it is quite comfortable. And I mean, the previous generation seats, we've been on long journeys in the Mark 7 Golf GTI, and the seats are horrendous. They really kill your back. And I mean, I end up with pain all down my tailbone. And these feel much comfier. Like I said, they've tried to copy the bucket seats a little bit while still keeping the authenticity of the GTI without sort of adding too many optional extras that are going to put the price up even further. And so far, really comfy. So there's lots of room on the inside, both in the front seats and the back seats. So again, making it that extra bit practical as well. But like I say, the steering wheel is really nice to hold actually. The heated steering wheel is lovely, but it just feels that bit too big, to be honest, like to put it into the size of my hand. I mean, I've got quite large hands and it's just huge in comparison. It's very overcomplicated, I think, on these, but they do look a lot nicer than sort of the clicky buttons, so I am quite happy with that. But they've made it look a lot smarter, so sort of getting rid of the weird twisted buttons that are down here before on the Golf, so they've put them into the screen, which look lovely. And again, they've still got the digital dash, which they've upgraded again. I think it looks really smart. It looks a little bit smaller than before, but they've kind of got your indicators and stuff around the edges and stuff, which look quite nice actually. I think it looks quite smart. It's easy to read while you're driving as well. But the biggest change is they've added the screen on. It reminds me a little bit of Mercedes, how they have like the extra bit here. But also, I think that is cool. Okay, so it's got some cool features on it, which can we please all appreciate. But again, it looks a little bit sort of complicated to work. It's not got any of the simple button touchscreens that personally I really like, just because it's a bit similar to you. When you're driving along, you don't want to be sort of messing around trying to click everything. You just sort of want a nice, easy, yep, next button. The automatic itself, this reminds me a lot of Porsche actually, and just sort of, I miss having the gear stick because I quite like, even in auto, to being able to sort of push up and down when you're changing gear, especially when you're going things like round and roundabout. You can't quite grab the flappy paddles as quickly as you would be able to here. But to be fair, it looks really smart. And so you go to change the mode of the car here. We had it in Eco before, which everything was nice and blue. When we put it in Sport, we get that sexy red, which also matches the GTI. So let's have a go in Sport and see how we get on. I think the one downside, especially for me, is it's very quiet. There's a lot of sort of speaker noise rather than actual exhaust noise, and as a bit of a petrol head, that's something I would miss. And I think if I was to have one, I'd definitely put some sort of new exhaust in. Obviously, I know there's regulations, sort of like having the filters and bits and pieces in the exhaust, which I think is quite sad. But again, your average Joe Blogs, probably not going to be bothered. But me personally, it needs to be that bit louder. It needs to have that bit of grunt. But the ride is incredible. The ride is so smooth. It's so comfortable and easy to drive. It's lovely. Really, you can't go wrong with a Golf at all. I think you know exactly what you're getting when you buy a Golf, and you know the standard that you expect. And VW they've just given you that standard and exceeded it. The best thing about the GTI is it's a jack of all trades, master of none. So you have the practicality and the comfort of a normal daily driving car, but you have the option of the sport mode and the sort of sporty looks and everything on that performance side that it does give you without compromising on anything. You're not compromising on ride, you're not compromising on comfort, but then again, you're not lacking any performance. That doesn't make it a performance car. I think this car on track would be so much fun, and even on the roads, you can drive it easily and you can drive it for more fun as well. And I think that's one of the best things about this Golf GTI is it's not boring. 6 miles an hour. Come on, mate. I don't have long with this car. I want to make the most of it. So a lot of people have mentioned that the handling of the car is much better than their predecessor. And one thing they have done is they've put in a vehicle dynamic manager, which is actively controlling the adaptive dampers and also the electronic locking diff. So it gives the car just a bit more stability, a bit more balance, and essentially it's letting the car do most of the work, which I think is one thing that new cars are going with, is it's taken away from the driver and letting the car electronics and all that clever stuff do more of the driving. But that being said, it's still a really fun car to drive. I mean, I still feel like I'm driving it. It doesn't feel like it's taking over like some automatics do. And it's just fun. It's a fun little hot hatch and I love it. It seems to be really good with fuel. I mean, I've been driving it around for about 20 minutes and it's only dropped 5 miles out of the tank, which, to be honest, pretty good. I'm so glad that the Mark 8 has managed to keep those pieces that make it something special, but the day that it loses that, when regulations and everything come into play, it's going to be a really sad day. It's the end of my Mark 8 Golf GTI little drive. I actually really love it. I think they have kept everything from the Mark 7.5 that worked and that has that icon from the 70s and the original Golf GTI, and they've added in obviously the modern side of things that one they have to, which obviously you have to take that into account because it's out of their control, that side of things. But also they've added in things that the Mark 7.5 lacked, and like the comfort of the seats, the performance. Personally, I really like it. This car in particular is up for 32,000, which is a lot of money for a Golf GTI, but can I see that it's worth it? Personally, I didn't think I was going to, actually. Originally, when after driving the Mark 7.5, I thought I was going to be kind of, yeah, it looks better, but I'd still rather save the money. But actually, now I've driven one, yeah, I could justify that. I think it's just a perfect amount of sporty and practical, and it's going to give you the aspects from each that you need as like a daily driver, and I'd love one as a daily driver, really. To conclude, the Golf GTI Mark 8 review, love it, think they're fantastic. It has a little bit of issues with the traction control and some little niggly bits that might just be me being picky rather than sort of an actual problem with the car. But yeah, I'd definitely get one. So the Mark 8 is still quite a new car, so it's been really fun to actually see one in the flesh, have a go, and actually sit in one as well, because the interior I've not really seen much of. And a massive thank you to Louth Volksworld for letting me take the GTI out for the morning. Be sure to check them out, guys. They do everything from being a Revo specialist, the racing side of things, and also of course used cars, which are absolutely fantastic. And if there's something you want, they will source it for you too. So, and also if you fancy that GTI, just give them a call. You guys know the drill. If you want to make my journey your journey, like, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.